Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour. I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group, and how you doing? Welcome to Thursday. Feeling significantly better today. Great day to be alive. The sun is out. It is pickleball Thursday, so I'm all jacked up. Going to be dominating on the pickleball courts. We actually restarted last week. I played really well last week, so kind of like golf. Like when I play well, and then I get all jacked up, and I'm like, yeah, I've turned the corner. I'll probably play horrible today, but just reminds me to get those CBD products. I took a CBD bath last night with the bath salts, and I probably should have done that 2 days ago. But I'm ready to go. So get your products. Go to 1360 KHNC. Hit the shopping cart button. As all of you know, that also helps out the radio station 1360 KHNC. Big shout out to Ramon, our producer in Phoenix. We had a little problem yesterday, and he was on top of it, and he got us all squared away. So we appreciate KXXT as well. I'm joined like I am every day with my partner in crime, the man that runs the Colorado office, who I've given way too much credit to because he has great people. I mean, we got Brian and Jason. His mom's up there. Now we've got Dee and Jason.
Christina.
Christina, our newest. Bucky Dillon and the rest of you. Thank you guys for all that you do. And I promise that I will spread around the good cheers. But wow, what a difference a day makes. Gold and silver are absolutely flying. There was no reason for silver to fall yesterday. Really not a reason for it to go back up today. But either way, gold's up 30 plus, 35, 36, 37, right at 1760 right now. Silver is up about 65 cents right now, $22.15. The Dow was down today, Jason.
I saw that. I saw that, and sometimes it makes sense, and sometimes it doesn't make sense. But yeah.
Yes, we did have jobless claims out every Thursday. This was a number that was getting better. And rightfully so. Obviously, during the COVID and the lockdowns, I think at one point the high point was like 1 million jobs lost. But this number for the last month, a little higher week after week after week. Today that continued. 362,000 people filing for unemployment claims for the very first time this morning. Not what they were expecting. We have Jay Powell and Janet Yellen. They're testifying in front of Congress for the second day today. Apparently their answers aren't nearly as good today as they were yesterday. But nonetheless, Maxine Waters, Jason, it was her day today to grill the Treasury Secretary and of course, the Federal Reserve Chief. This is a woman, all of you will remember good old Maxine. This is how ridiculous Congress really is, because she's on the banking committee. I don't know if any of you remember, it wasn't that long ago when she was grilling. I think it was either Ben Bernanke or Janet Yellen. I can't remember which one, when they were head of the Fed, thinking that our currency was backed by gold. And yes, now she's like one of the most premier members. She knows absolutely nothing about banking, but yet she's going to grill them all. So ought to be kind of interesting. Yesterday, Elizabeth Warren called for Jay Powell to be replaced. Remember, we his term's up in February. I will say this. We had two Fed governors, Rosengren from Massachusetts, who handles the all the East Coast that isn't New York, and then Kaplan, the Dallas Federal Reserve chief, being forced to resign pretty much for insider trading. And again, Jay Powell with this idiotic nonsense about transitory inflation. And if you look at anything he's said, the guy's been right about absolutely nothing. So I hate to say it, Jason, but I wake up this morning finding myself going, I'm actually agreeing with Elizabeth Warren.
But I'm guessing it's not quite as strong as a Ron Paul moment.
No, there was no Ron Paul moment. Maybe the best. See, this is what happens when you actually have people that know what they're talking about. The Federal Reserve guys get very uncomfortable. Of course, Jason referring to when Ron Paul asked Ben Bernanke if gold was money. Oh, man, you saw a guy squirming around in his seat and it kept no, it's not money. And Ron Paul, really? Because it's been money for thousands of years. You know, why? If it's, you know what? If it's so unimportant, why don't you let it compete with the dollar and people can just decide what they'd rather use? Oh no, can't have that. Competition is absolutely no good. But again, I digress. As of right now, Jay Powell has the support of Janet Yellen, and I've been saying this for a long time. She is the most evil woman in the world as far as I am concerned, because she is a screaming liberal. She loves spending money. She loves huge government. And more importantly, she thinks the bankers should oversee everything we do. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back right after the break.
The price of gold today is $1,580. The dollar during these last 3 years was devalued almost 50%. When you wake up in the morning, do you care about the price of gold?
Well, I pay attention to the price of gold, but I think it reflects a lot of things. It reflects global uncertainties. I think the reason people hold gold is as a protection against what we call tail risk, really, really bad outcomes. And to the extent that the last few years have made people more worried about the potential of a major crisis, then they have gold as a protection.
Do you think gold is money?
No.
It's not money. Even if it had been money for 6,000 years, somebody reversed that and eliminated that economic law.
Well, it's an asset. I mean, it's the same. Would you say Treasury bills are money? I don't think they're money either, but they're a financial asset.
Why do central banks hold it?
Well, it's a form of reserves.
Why don't they hold diamonds?
Well, it's tradition, long-term tradition.
Well, some people still think it's money. I yield back. My time is up.
All right, Joe, there you go.
Well, first there was a long pause. Well, tradition. Really? Well, apparently that tradition has been gaining a lot more steam since then. Of course, this is after the financial crisis was playing out during that round with Ron Paul and Chairman Ben Bernanke. And the only thing better, I wish you would have said so. The Constitution says gold and silver is money.
Right.
But hey, that's just an old piece of paper. Right? Oh, well, people don't think Treasury bills are money. You're right. Nobody thinks Treasury bills are money. Treasury bills are debt. And all as they've done, these geniuses. And they talk about, we've got so many tools in our toolkit. And they come up with all these crazy, idiotic economic ideas. Like quantitative easing. Like manipulating interest rates. Right? Which is nothing more than, hey, we don't want you to know what the true value of this, we'll use Ben Bernanke's words, of this asset. We don't want you to know. We want to see, our policies have caused the true price of a treasury to be something that we can't afford it to be. So we're going to manipulate it and pretend like it's not happening. And don't worry, and remember what he said. Why do you go early on? What was he saying, Jay? Well, it's a hedge.
Right.
It's right. It's insurance against really bad tail risk.
It was an interesting term you used. Hey,
if you've looked,
don't grab the Fed by the don't grab the Fed by the tails, I think is what he's saying.
Right? If you hey, listen, I'm the only one who probably pays any attention to Treasury auctions. Let's just say there's been much bigger tails lately, and that's not a good thing. In other words, the amount of people willing to buy treasuries at the manipulated rate the Fed wants is losing steam. In other words, hey, I'm not buying it for that. But I'll put a bid in. But I want to bid it higher, which makes these, what they call tails, very long. Probably a precursor of things that have yet to come. Really quickly, I just want people to know today is the very last day on 1/10 ounce American Gold Eagles. They're $240 today, which is where they were the other day. Gold is now up over $43 today, now $17.62. No volume discount. Everybody gets the deal today. It's $240 for 1/10 ounce American Gold Eagles. Tomorrow they're going to, assuming gold's where it is today, tomorrow they'll be $15 higher, so $255 starting tomorrow. So if you want 1/10 ounce American Gold Eagles, get in there and do it right now at 800-951-0592. Silver Eagles, nothing. I've been offered Silver Eagles. I'll call it the black market out there. You're looking at people want $8 and $10 over spot for me to buy them. Then, of course, premium C would be even higher than that. So I'm passing on that. We'll wait and see. But it doesn't look like supply is going to let up. Barron's had a big article today, Jason. It's talking about silver demand. And silver demand is up double digits in 2021. Over 1 billion ounces of silver between all forms. They're anticipating record silver demand next year, and we're commenting about how silver's a buy and all this, blah 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 blah. Listen, silver should never have been down $1 yesterday. Now silver's coming back here; it's up 70 cents, probably almost back to where it was yesterday. But just wanting to let you know, listen, this thing's not letting up. There's no magic wand here that's going to be waved and saying that all of a sudden we're going to have tons of silver again next year. It is worth noting, and sometimes, Jason, we forget this. In 2020, early 2020, silver was $13.
Right.
And it went all the way. I mean, it got to $30. So it made a huge move in 2020. It's consolidated here in 2021. But like this spring, and Jason and I have been telling you, things have changed. The Fed's little story about transitory inflation is really starting to wobble. Now we're seeing huge slowdowns in China, huge slowdowns in Europe, huge slowdown here in the United States. And when you're talking about GDP of 6.5%, and all of a sudden now the next quarter's GDP, they're crossing their fingers, hoping it's more than 2%. That's a big slowdown. That is a big slowdown, especially when you think about how fast prices have been rising. And I expect gold and silver. They both had strong moves in 2020, consolidation in 2021. I think 2022 is going to be another one of those big moves to the upside. Somebody out there, Jason, and we've been talking about energy a lot. And we know what's happening now in China. Europe, and I'm going to get to Europe again. Europe relies very, very heavily on natural gas. Things keep going the wrong way there. But Goldman Sachs is saying we expect $90 oil but this winter, somebody out there, Jason, is placing massive bets for $200 oil, not December of this year, but for December of next year.
Yeah. I don't know which side of that bet I would be on, because that's a big price, but you have to think about it, don't you?
But you know what? It's the amount of the money. This wasn't, hey, I'm going to take a flyer and throw a few bucks at it. This was a heavy bet. You don't get to know who made the bet. That'd be very interesting. But this is something, listen, oil doesn't have to get to 200 for this bet to pay off big. Right? If oil gets to 150, right? Oil gets to 160, 170, they're going to make plenty of money on that trade. And I just find it very interesting, because when you're sitting there and you're thinking about $75 oil and someone says, hey, I'm going to throw billions of dollars, that oil is going to be $200 in the next 14 to 15 months. That's worth paying attention to. We are in the middle of an energy crunch. You know, and people, you know, and I love all the globalists out there. All of this, by the way, all of this is the global warming issue. You know, China is, they use tons of coal and they build coal power plants. Then people have been trying to force them not to build as many. Well, guess what? China doesn't have enough power. Europe now doesn't have enough power. This morning, natural gas futures, which were already at record highs, exploded again. The European benchmark rose 13% to 98, almost to 100 euros. The UK contract surged 17.4%. This is in a day. Contracts for natural gas have more than doubled in the last month. Not the last year, just the last month. German power for next year rose by 12% to 132 euros per megawatt hour. So think about it. Right now they've got to pay almost 100 euros, and already they're saying, hey, listen, 2022, we're expecting 132 euros. In France, it's up to 135 euros. And they're saying that if you converted natural gas prices today to the equivalent of oil, which is a good for us, because most of us don't, we don't follow natural gas as much here as they do in Europe, because again, they rely a lot more on natural gas. And by the way, natural gas price is up 300% here in the U.S., just so you know. That price, Jason, is equal to $200 a barrel oil. I wonder if that's where the bet comes from.
Where does the price of oil have to be to make wind and solar competitive, I guess? Maybe that's the whole thing.
Maybe that's where, you know what, I would love to know that. I would love to know what that number would be.
Wonder if it's $200 a barrel.
I've got a feeling $200 a barrel is probably it, right? At $200 a barrel, at $5, $6, $7 a gallon gasoline, all of a sudden, and again, here's the problem with all of listen, it's not like I'm against wind and solar. I love wind and solar. But the technology that exists currently today, and my guess is forever, but I don't know that, it's not possible. And now, because of this whole far left liberal policy, electric vehicles, California and New York are mandating that every car sold in their states, and I think Illinois now, the three big blue states, by 2030 have to be all electric. They're everywhere else, though, it's 2035. And remember what Toyota said, because people have buried that guy. I haven't seen a word out of him since. He begged the Biden administration, please don't make us do this. Because he said it's simply not possible. We're going to spend billions and billions and billions of dollars and then not be able to produce enough electric automobiles. And then, of course, I've got the other side of it. What the heck does people think is going to happen when everyone drives home from work and has to plug their car in, Jason?
Yeah, and bad news for the electric cars is even though Evergrande in China is a property company, they're also kind of a little heavily leveraged in electric cars at the same time.
Well, listen, I could go on and on. China's got at least half a dozen empty electric car factories.
Yep.
So it really boggles the mind how idiotic the policies of the Biden administration. We knew they would be bad.
Joe, it makes you wonder if somebody that placed that $200 barrel oil were standing outside a Biden meeting or something before they placed that bet. That's what it makes me think.
My guess is they were probably in the meeting because that's really how it works, right?
Yeah.
Somebody was in the meeting.
You're more conspiratorial than me this morning. That's great.
When we get back, my favorite thing food-wise, which my wife doesn't really let me eat anymore, is going to get a lot more expensive. Matter of fact, all-time record highs. That's coming up next. Patriot Radio News Hour. Pick up those 10th ounce while you still can. 800-951-0592. 800-951-0592. 1/10 ounce American Gold Eagles. This is it. Last day here, $240, which is really for 10th ounce just dirt cheap. The GDP. So we're talking about. Oh, I forgot. I got to tell you my favorite food: bacon.
Oh,
bacon. Yeah. Up 28%, and now they're saying that bacon is more expensive for Americans than it has ever been in the last 40 years, blaming supply chain problems and now herd counts. They're saying that domestic pork supply was one of the fastest to get knocked out of whack. And so here's how it works. It's really simple. Beef, too expensive. Chicken, too expensive. Pork is the cheapest of the three meats. Pork's the cheap one. And that's why pork supplies have been decimated. And now pork is on the move. Like I said, the prices, pork prices up 40% at the slaughterhouses. And now you're seeing all of that come through the grocery stores. And just to let you know, that number is going to get a lot higher as well. And it's kind of interesting because we had the last reading for second quarter GDP. It was 6.6%. They came out with what they call the final reading, which really isn't the final. Like 3 years from now, they're going to totally change the number. But that's okay. It got to 6.7. So you're like, oh, hey, that's positive. Of course, now they're saying, as we said earlier in the show, they don't even think we're going to get to 3 in the third quarter. So that's a big drop. And now they're saying, hey, this Biden stimulus, that $3.5 trillion and all that other stuff, now they're worrying that fourth quarter is going to be even lower because they don't think that's going to happen, at least not at $3.5 trillion. But here was really what was interesting in the report. Because the Federal Reserve's telling us that inflation was, what was it? I think, what was their last number, like 5.5?
Yeah, I think so, Joe, yeah.
Something like that. Looking at the inflation components for the second quarter, they said that, and this is what they call the PCE number. So this is the heavily manipulated, and this is also the lowest number that the Fed has for inflation. In the second quarter, the PCE rose to 6.1%. But somehow, the Fed, oh, no, it's only 5. And again, any way they can rip us off, but do the math. So if the economy grew at 6.7, as they said, the lowest form of inflation that the central bank has says 6.1%. So think about it this way. They use the highest possible number for GDP and the lowest possible number for inflation. Actual growth was only 0.6%. Now it looks like the PCE for the third quarter, which by the way ends tomorrow, is going to be about the same. Wouldn't you agree, Jason?
Yeah, they're going to
about the same, right?
They're going to make the best possible story out of a really bad situation. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, but let's just say, okay, 6% inflation. They're already preparing us for a GDP number in the 2s. So now do that math. So inflation. You know what? Let's be confident. I've got faith that the Fed can manipulate like no other. We'll get 3% GDP growth third quarter. Well, that actually means when you throw inflation into it, we actually had negative growth.
Yep.
Because I can promise you this, no matter what the number is, we're not going to get 6% in the third quarter. We're not going to get 5. We're not getting 4.
Yeah, Joe, when they're optimistic, good numbers, or they're optimistic numbers that they're giving us are really bad to begin with. The actual numbers are probably really devastating.
So when you really look at it, this is why, and I go back to Jeffrey Gundlach, because he does such a great job of dumbing it all down for all of us. This wasn't real GDP growth. Because the money doesn't stay in the United States. Right? With just trade deficits alone, $1 trillion a year of wealth leaves the country. This was just all consumption, all debt, the Fed handing out money, the government handing out money. And there's consequences to that. I know that they would like to pretend that somehow they can control the laws of economics, but they really can't. You know what you don't hear anymore? You're not hearing this MMT stuff anymore, are you? Modern money theory. Right? That was another one of the new tools that the central bank had. Listen, all their tools, it's the same tool, just with a different name. You know what the tool is? Debt. This whole thing, Dow 35,000, all built on debt. Right? 6.7% GDP, all built on debt. And now, all of a sudden, just like we always learned, when you produce too much of something, the value of that plummets. And then you need more of that something to buy everything. And isn't that what we have here, Jason? Everything in dollars costs more.
That's exactly right. And it's just, the Ponzi scheme that is the Federal Reserve System is just reaching an end. This is why you hear the term Great Reset, because that's what happened after World War II. They needed an economic reset. They changed the landscape of the world, and this time it's not World War II. It's coronavirus and whatever else they're going to pile on top, Joe. So it's, I hate the numbers, Joe, because I never believe their numbers. It's so bad. When these numbers that you read, Joe, and when I used to listen to your show before I joined up, I was always listening to Joe and thinking, man, what are the real numbers? What if they actually reported the real numbers, Joe?
Wait, listen, nobody could handle that. right? That's the code red, and you can't handle the truth. That's how manipulated they really are. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back right after the break. 800-951-0592. Wow. This is just breaking. Listen, the Dow is now down, approaching 300 points here. There's a big turn of events in the energy markets. Before I do that, I'm going to give you, we got 10th ounce on sale. Today's the last day, $240. That's tomorrow, assuming gold doesn't go up another 30, which it may. It may do that today when I get done with this next article. You're going to be looking at least 255, probably 260. So on 10th ounce, I've got 50 $20 gold pieces at 2,030, and I'm telling you, that's a great deal. 800-951-0592. This just is breaking. Beijing, China, is ordering its energy firms to secure supplies at all costs. Oil was down $1.50. Oil is now back in deposit territory. Brent oil back above 80, and I'm thinking about this guy's $200 oil call. As you know, China has been trying desperately to control cost of material. They've released oil out of their strategic oil reserve. They released aluminum. They've released steel, iron ore, copper, right? Everything to drive costs down. They've shut down their economy to try to say, listen, we're just not going to buy coal at that price. We're not buying oil at that price. We're not buying liquefied natural gas at that price. Power companies reduce power. Now they're saying this is getting worse, not better. Here's what the Chinese government essentially said today. These ridiculous prices are going to get a lot more ridiculous. We need to buy everything we can now. And you got to remember how governments buy. China isn't buying natural gas today for tomorrow. China isn't buying crude oil today for tomorrow. China isn't buying liquefied natural gas today for tomorrow. They're buying it. This is for December. This is for March of next year, April of next year, June of next year, August of next year. And they've ordered the country's top state-owned energy companies to secure as much supply as possible at all costs, saying that Beijing is no longer to risk social anger going forward. They are going to be subsidizing coal and natural gas, but they said that unfortunately not enough to offset what they're going to have to pay for it, Jason.
Maybe Joe Biden's son's the one that put that $200 bet in.
Old Hunter.
Old Hunter put the bet in. I
wonder where his new laptop is.
Maybe China has it.
But that is big. And you got to remember, why am I so excited? Why am I all fired up about it? Down over 300 points. It's real simple. Nobody consumes more energy than China. Nobody. They buy more oil. They buy outside. You know what? There's only one other country that buys more liquefied natural gas than China, and that's Japan. That's it. They are the largest consumers of all of these things.
Yep.
And when they and again, I was picking up steam here, coming up down almost 400 points. This is a big shift. All is this, again, this is another blow to transitory. Listen, these prices will come down. They will. A year and a half, 2 years from now. The bottom line is we don't have enough energy to meet the needs. Why? Well, look at California. Look at Texas, right? We've seen it here. Just not on the scale that you're used to. You're going to feel it. Wait till you see what energy prices are this winter, especially if you rely on heating oil and natural gas to heat your homes. It's going to be out of sight, Jason.
Yeah, paper markets don't like it when oil or copper or silver is pressuring upwards in price. It tends to show that there's a problem.
So that is significantly moved the markets here, as China is now saying buy all that you can, and again, if they're willing to pay record prices, that just means they believe the price is going even higher.
Sounds like those housing. Sounds like those housing prices, Joe.
Stop it.
Sounds like those housing prices that just keep going up in this country.
Right.
And they just, hey, I'm BlackRock. I'm going to pay 50% more than your asking price. They must know something, Joe.
Well, let's face it. What's the other alternative here? PCE inflation is 6%. A 10-year note. The big move on the 10-year note, you get 1.5. You're losing best case, 4.5% of your money. Nobody's going to do that. And here's the problem. This temporary inflation thing was nonsense. Robert Kiyosaki was out saying, hey, listen, this is going to be the biggest crash yet. And the answer is really simple. Well, how would you know this? Why would you say this? Well, we've never created this kind of debt before, ever.
And he's made his billions of dollars, using debt. He freely admits it, just like Trump.
Just like all the billionaires do. 800-951-0592. 1/10 ounce at $2.40. $20 Liberties at 2030. Final segment coming up. 800-951-0592. We've got one line open. One line. How I don't know. We shouldn't put it away. I know it's tough. I know. Right? Listen. I know. Right? Silver shouldn't be $22 and change. Probably be $42 and change. Believe me, it's going there. We're not going to like it, and I know you think you're going to love it. You're not. Right? Gold. $1,760. Should probably be like $3,000. It's going to be there. It's not going to be pleasurable. And you have to understand, why do they always try to hold it down? Because they can't admit the truth. Because if they did, that'd be like, okay, we got a problem, and it's coming. You can see it coming. That was a huge. That really caught me off guard. The news out of China now is going to really push. Gasoline prices here in Phoenix just jumped another 5 cents over the last couple of days. I just looked at natural or unleaded gas futures. It's up another 4 or 5 cents in the last 15 minutes. Things are going to get a lot more expensive, especially when you're thinking about transportation and all the other things, Jason. How about Dollar Tree? I'll leave you with this. Dollar Tree says rising inflation is going to force it to sell products for more than $1, Jason. They can't do it anymore.
That reminds me of the old dollar menu for McDonald's. Went away some years ago. Same thing, right?
You're right. Same thing. That's right. The dollar. I forgot all about the dollar menu.
Taco Bell used to have the 49-cent meal or whatever. Back when I used to eat that stuff. Yeah.
Taco Bell, when I was growing up, if you had $3,
yeah, you could stuff yourself.
You couldn't eat. You couldn't eat. It'd be $3 was too much. Now one taco is $1.79. I mean, it's gotten absurd. And I only know that because my wife loves Taco Bell. I personally don't.
I'll say this, Joe, and I don't do a lot of fast food, but I noticed as the prices of fast food gets more expensive, the pictures at the drive-thru got prettier and nicer, and they try to make it look better.
The eye candy got a lot nicer. 800-951-0592, U.S. 20s. I don't know if we have any left or not. If I do, they're 2030. The 10th ounce at $240 at 800-951-0592. Pick up some gold today. If you get the voicemail, all lines are lit right now. If you get the voicemail, you can leave a message or just hang up and call again because the girl's up. There you go. There's a line open just like that. 800-951-0592. Gold's up almost $40 today, $17.60. Silver's up 60 cents, back above $22. The Dow is down 300 plus. Crude oil, which was down about $1.60, is now up 63 cents. News that China says buy everything at all costs. Natural gas is up 3% today. Unleaded gas up 1.5%. Don't worry, though. It'll just be transitory. God bless everybody.